What's up, everybody? Welcome back into an episode of The Lawyer You Know. It's day 4 of Donna Adelson's trial, and we finally get to hear her name over and over again today. We get the Donna Adelson connections, and there was some very damning evidence when it comes to jurors who are just normal, everyday people looking at the person sitting over in the defendant's chair thinking, that's something a guilty person would do. We'll talk about whether it's enough to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. Are they actually proving the elements of the crime they need to with Donna Adelson, or is she getting swept up in the web that the state is creating for this entire conspiracy? And is that going to be enough to get a conviction in the end? I'm going to answer all your questions. We're going to go through the witnesses. We're going to recap everything and talk about what is still to come in the rest of this trial. Let's get to it. The state gets to give an opening statement. That's the first thing a jury hears about a case. And the state gets to lay out all of the evidence that's going to come before this jury. That's their first exposure for them to know what to expect, which is why the first 3 days of laying the foundation and building up to get to these moments was sprinkling just enough Donna Adelson to this jury for them to just be waiting. And if they're like the rest of the world and the rest of the chat in here talking about this case is, I hear a lot of Wendy, I hear a lot of Charlie, I even hear some Harvey, I hear Katie, I hear, Luis Rivera and Sigfredo, I hear about all of these names. When are we going to hear more about Donna? They're waiting. The state brings them along, builds up the anticipation, laying the background of how it's very clear Sigfredo and Luis are involved in this. The connection to Katie is undeniable. The connection to Charlie is undeniable, but how much did mom and dad really know? That's what today is all about. We've seen financial records. We've started to see the telephone and the emails and the location data. We're going to dig into a lot more of that today. Then we start to hear about wiretaps, undercover recordings, bumps, FBI agents. You put an FBI agent on the stand, we know from other cases how important the Federal Bureau of Investigation is being involved in these cases. When you start to hear things like that, you start to hear Donna Adelson's own voice and read her own words, and that's usually what does a criminal defendant in. So we're going to get to and jump to here some more of the communications. We know Donna's disappointed in relocation. We know about the family law case. We know that it's consistent. We know who's texting who and who's calling who, and we know that they're corroborating Luis Rivera's testimony based on the cell phones and the cameras and, Sun Pass or whatever. Like, we know all of that. Let's get to Donna. How do we know Donna is involved? And we're going to hear about some of the communications that happened leading up to the day of Dan Markel's death.
Going into the early morning hours of July 18th.
Yes. So again, kind of same format here. We see this is slide 185.
I really love the state's demonstratives. I don't know if they were objected to or fought about at all, but the judge is letting them in. I think they're incredibly helpful to the jury.
We see calls between Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson at 10:18 and 10:29, both of them for just over 4 minutes.
Okay. And what's next?
We see at about 11:40, there is communication between Mr. Garcia and Ms. Magdanua.
Okay. And what happens after that?
Additional communications between Catherine and Sigfredo, and then Charlie calls Catherine just after midnight.
Okay.
And again, the whole train car thing, they stick to that, and they're going to continue to stick to that throughout. They've done a really great job of laying that foundation. Wendy, we just started. This is the first clip I'm playing, so you're here just in time. John said at the end, of course, I should have waited for this question, John. You can't throw me off and take me out of my order here, but at the end, Attorney Fulford reiterated an objection to prosecution's questions that incorporated attorney testimony, which had apparently been discussed at sidebar conversations, quickly denied. So I saw this. I wasn't going to play the clip, so I'll just tell you now what I think. So we're going to hear some testimony, or we're going to hear some undercover recordings. And at the same time, they're showing the transcript on the screen. So this is really great. Sometimes things are hard to hear, but some jurors read better, some listen better. We always talk about it on YouTube, and why I like playing clips, and also why I like demonstrative aids like this whenever I can. And the state or the defense objected, saying, okay, listen, they've got the recording, they're reading the transcript. Do we really need the attorney to repeat it afterwards? That's cumulative. That's unnecessary. She thought the judge granted that. The judge did not. The judge said he granted you can't lead. So even though this is an evidence, you can't lead and say, Charlie said this, correct? But you can reiterate what has come into evidence. I, as a lawyer, as part of my case in chief, something can come into evidence. I can ask a witness about it. Then I can read it myself later. I just did that in my trial last week. I was like, Judge, you know what? We're going to just read some of these text messages in order. I know some witnesses have testified about them, but once it's in evidence, you're allowed to read it and present it to the trier of fact. So in most courtrooms that I've ever been in, this would be allowed, not the leading part, but Georgia Koppelman would be able to ask the witness about what we just heard, especially when things are sometimes hard to hear. I realize there is a transcript, but the witness can help connect these dots with the other information that the witness has. So that's what I got. That's what I gathered from the argument and what happened. And I wasn't going to play the clip. So good question. Peter, congrats on 2026 Best Lawyers at Tragos, Sardis, and Tragos. Thank you so much, Maria. I appreciate it. Always fun to be recognized and things like that. You know, are they the biggest deal in the world? You know, some are better than others, but, you know, they are what they are. Some people like them, and it's always an honor to be thought of in those types of categories with other really great lawyers. There's always the like pay to play. So it's like you can get searched if you pay. You can, you know, put stuff on your website if you pay. You can do this if you pay with all of these. So it's all just kind of like, it is what it is. But thank you so much. Okay, let's keep listening now to this connection with all the calls.
And is there any more after that?
There is. We see that Ms. Magbanua calls Charlie again at 12:34 a.m. for a short duration call. And then Charlie calls her back at 1:03 a.m.
Okay. And the Charlie calls Donna at 1:02 a.m. Was there no duration on that?
No duration on that.
Okay. All right. So then moving on to later that morning, which is going to be the morning of July 18th when Dan Markel was murdered. What can you tell us about all the co-conspirators' communication that morning between 8 a.m. and 12:30 p.m.?
So again, another call detail summary between those subjects. Here, slide 192, we're referencing the time when the shooting of Mr. Markel occurred. And in combination with the iCloud return with text message content, in the forensic examination of Wendy Adelson's phone, the communication records from the carriers, we kind of have a more complete idea of the communications between these persons the morning of the 18th.
Okay, and the yellow line there shows at what time in the call detail records the homicide occurred?
Yes.
Can you walk us through all the cell phone evidence that morning?
So again, just looking at the communications between our primary subjects, Wendy had the calendar event that for 8 a.m. for fixed TV.
And I want to ask you about that. Did she often have calendar events in her phone?
She did, yes.
And she would often delete those events?
Correct.
All right. When was this calendar event deleted?
I do not know.
Again, this case as well, we're still listening. It's kind of building, but so much more about what Wendy did and how sus a lot of what Wendy did in this case. And I will just tell you, the percentage that I think that Wendy could potentially be in the sights of the prosecutor has gone up as this trial has gone up. In all the prior trials, I was like, there's not really enough. They don't want to get embarrassed. Yeah, they could probably swoop her in. I think there's enough circumstantial evidence for them to go prove it. I don't think I would convict based on what I've seen, but a lot of lay jurors, if you sweep her in with all the other Adelsons she must have known, that would be enough for some people. I wouldn't want to prosecute a case like that. But they have more and more evidence about what she did, the TV, her cable, the voicemail from Dan Markel. So she knew exactly where he was going to be, when he was going to be. Her knowledge really is growing to me. I saw clips of Katie McBanua's trial, and I watched the entirety of Charlie Adelson's trial. And this one feels so much more focused and more information on Wendy than I've seen from the other trials.
Okay. Was it when she was with law enforcement the afternoon of July 18th, did they take her phone and run a Cellbrite report on it?
Yes. So this extraction occurred on the late evening hours of July 18th.
Okay. And in the Cellbrite, it would have shown that the calendar event was deleted. Is that right?
Correct.
So would she have had to have deleted it before her cell phone was Cellbrighted that evening?
Yes.
Okay. So sometime between.
So that's interesting, right? And the defense talked about how Wendy Adelson voluntarily consented to give her phone over, but they didn't do a good enough extraction from her phone to really get all the information, which again is not great from the investigation point of view. I think there were things done in the investigation that were part of the reason why this took so long. There was a lot of great work done, but I think there was also some issues as well.
8 a.m. when the event is on her phone, and that evening it was deleted.
It could have been deleted before that date.
Okay. All right. So first call to Donna Adelson and Wendy Adelson. Can you show that to us?
Yes. So again, we see at 8:09 a.m., there's a call from Wendy to Donna.
Okay, let me ask you one thing from the night before. Was it unusual for Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson to communicate or attempt to communicate at 1 a.m. that late?
They're communicate over a pretty broad range of time. I think it was pretty clear that that event was a misdial that he immediately corrected and called Ms. Bagbanowa. That's why there was no duration to it.
Okay, thank you.
So he accidentally called Donna. Shirley said immunity only for what she testified at trial, not overall immunity, not she can't be prosecuted. She does not have that kind of immunity. Derivative use immunity is what she has. Nikki said, do you think Harvey skipping today was strategy from Donna's lawyers? Honestly, him being there looked worse / guilty, in my opinion. Her entire row was empty. I don't know. A lot of times as lawyers, if we are going to make decisions like that, sometimes it's during the trial, we're trying to get a vibe. I mean, if they already think she's guilty because he's sitting there the first 3 days of the trial, especially what's come out the first 3 days, I don't think him not being there is going to do anything. Usually you want the support of the family that, he thinks she's innocent, but this one, it's like the whole family is, the state's pushing is in on it. Alan said, Peter, most respectfully, I'm not even close to beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm just about more likely than not for today. Well, Alan, I totally respect this. I think this is great. And I love to hear where you guys are at as the trial goes on, but they don't need to be at beyond a reasonable doubt yet, right? I agree. I don't think they're at beyond a reasonable doubt, but I think when we get to the end of this video today, some of the things I'm going to show you, I think most lay people sitting on the jury will be like, that is not an innocent person sitting over there. And the state's going to continue to build. They are not done. Attorney Stars, I think Wendy told Jeff they were on a break so she could say he was insecure about their relationship as his motive. Charlie had gotten off by telling the cops bad lies. He tried the same here. Hubris. Do you think male jurors might be influenced by the Adelsons removing the father's name from the boys? I don't know that just male jurors. I mean, everybody that I've talked to about that, about, her moving shortly after this happened, which is what she always wanted to do, changing the names. I mean, that her actions after the fact show she is the one who benefited from these crimes, really.
All right. So moving on to that morning, we saw the calendar event. And then does Donna place the first call that morning between the co-conspirators to Wendy?
Wendy calls Donna. Let's back up. So yes, Wendy actually calls Donna at 8:09.
Okay. And what's next?
Donna attempts back at about the same time frame. Little phone tag maybe. And then we see a text message from Donna to Wendy again about the Best Buy service.
And she says, they're on their way over now to help with the TV sets in your living room.
Correct.
All right. What's next?
Wendy has a text to Charlie stating, this is so sweet.
And that was deleted?
Correct.
And would that have had to have been deleted then before the Celebrate that afternoon, sometime between when it was received at 8:20 and the Celebrate that afternoon?
Correct.
All right.
This is not only connecting Donna, it's also making Wendy look so bad. So bad. I mean, this is how you show the conspiracy. The conversations, the texts, the emails, the things we're going to see on camera and here undercover. This is prototypically how you prove a case like this. And usually you don't have this much evidence.
What's next?
Wendy receives a voicemail from Dan Markel.
Okay. And do you have that voicemail where you could play it for us?
I believe so.
Hey, ladies, good morning. I'm off on Friday. Just wanted to say something to pick you boys up.
This is where Dan literally lets her know exactly where he's going to be, when he's going to be there, to Wendy. Now, we know he's also being followed by Luis and Sigfredo. Okay, so there are multiple kind of angles as to how they could have gotten where they were going to get. And we know the kids couldn't be around and, things like that. So there are kind of multiple ways you can get here. But I think it's important to point out that she did absolutely know exactly where he was going to be and when he was going to be there. I'm backing it up because it's kind of hard to hear just so we can read it on the screen. I just want to let you know I was hoping to pick them up earlier this afternoon, take them swimming, then have them ready for you around 4:30 or 5 if you can pick them up from either from Truesdale or at the house. So let me know if that's okay with you. And I'd love to chat with you about Ben's situation for school and birthday stuff and all that. I'm going to go to the gym between 9:15 and 10:30, but happy to chat or meet with you. Maybe we can go for a walk at school or something like that. Let me know. Okay, bye. So it's kind of hard to hear with that audio, but just so you know, and that's Dan Markel's dad, listening to this, which is really sad.
Or attempts to call Wendy at.
What happens after that?
So Charlie calls Wendy or attempts to call Wendy at 9:12.
And that's 29 seconds.
Correct.
Okay. What's next?
Wendy texts Dan Markel saying the repairman at my house now. I am picking up the boys at 3 p.m. So your swim idea is a no-go today.
So do we know exactly what time she listened to that? Was it 9:04?
Okay. So if you knew what was about to happen to Dan Markel was about to happen, would you have this fight if you're Wendy Adelson? Or would you just say, okay, sure, Dan, I'll see the kids at 4:30 or 5? This is something, again, if I'm Wendy Adelson's defense attorney and they're trying her, this is something that I am going to highlight as very clear she did not know what was going on. John said, the FBI approached Donna outside her grandchildren's school, handed her a note demanding $5,000 tied to Dan Markel's M, and implied it was extortion from the hitmen. Instead of reporting it to the police, was Donna harassed? Different thought. Instead of reporting it to the police, was Donna harassed? I don't know what that means. Was Donna, if she was harassed, why wouldn't she report it to the police if she felt like she was being harassed? I don't think that the bump went too far in this case. I don't. You should see some of the stuff I've seen in other cases where undercover agents take it way too far, in my opinion. This was like pretty simple, and they got her to do exactly what they wanted her to do right after. So I don't think I would say it was harassment. I think they got something out of it. Was it perfect? Maybe not, but I don't think it was overly, I don't think it was over the top. I've seen over the top. I don't think that's it. Sidebar, I know it's not something you would cover, but Proctor's hearing made me feel a little bit better about MSP. I've heard a ton about this. I know it's multiple days. It is literally impossible for me right now to cover that too with this trial, with me trying to catch up for my trial last week. And I'm supposed to have another trial in 3 weeks. And the lawyers on that trial, the other side, are trying to withdraw, which is going to cause a continuance. And we're trying to fight that. There's just so many things going on. So it's impossible for me to catch up on Proctor while also doing the deep dive that we're doing here on this trial. Ashley, if found guilty, her lawyer's not objecting to leading and the way they handled the ruling yesterday. Is that enough for appeal due to ineffective assistance of counsel? Nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. They'd have to fumble it away much worse than they've done so far. It's unfortunately a pretty low bar. Peter, Harvey seems a lot more suspicious now too. If he was aware of the horrible scheming but didn't actually play a role, is he breaking any laws? That's probably not. Could he be breaking laws? Absolutely. Probably not something they want to prosecute in this case. I think this is just me speculating. I think Wendy is more likely than Harvey at this point. It's just my guess. I would have not be surprised if Harvey or Wendy are the next to be arrested. I would be surprised. I would be surprised at this point if Harvey was arrested. Wendy, I would have been surprised before this trial. I still think I would be surprised. I still think I'm on, the island that would be surprised, but it's becoming less likely. Deb here. Peter, do you think if she had 3 rows of engaged supporters, it would make a difference to the jury? It's telling that there are none. See, so this is the exact opposite of what somebody else asked is it a bad thing that Harvey, or is it a good thing for the defense that Harvey wasn't there today? I usually think it looks better to have supporters behind you. Not guilty yesterday. Today, I feel enough to persuade me of guilty of accessory after the fact. Charlie could have confided in his mom after it happened. Nothing to convince me she knew before. So the only thing, we're going to get there, but we got to think about the drive, the test drive. Where was Donna? Did she go to Charlie's? Did she bring Charlie cash? So we still have a lot to kind of get through. So we'll hold off on that. We'll hold off on that for now. Thank you so much, Azam, for gifting 5 Lawyer memberships. All right, let's keep listening here.
904 was the voicemail.
Do we know exactly what time she listened to that 904 voicemail?
We do not.
But it seems she would have listened to it before this text at 912.
She does seem to acknowledge the content of the voicemail in this text message reply.
So she heard it sometime between 904 and 912.
Correct.
Okay. Now, in that message, he mentions he's going to the gym, right? At 9:15. But from the surveillance videos that we have, by the time he got to the gym at 9:15, were the killers already tailing him?
Appear to be so, yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with Luis Rivera's statement that they had been tailing him all morning? They followed him from his house to the preschool that morning.
Correct.
All right, so can you walk us through these messages starting at 9:12 a.m. that Wendy Adelson has with Dan Markel?
Yes. So again, she indicated that the swim idea was a no-go. Mr. Markel responds, his day ending at 4:30.
Meaning that he gets to keep the boys under the schedule until 4:30.
Correct.
Okay.
As again, in this message, he says, under our schedule. And he continues, and you had them until 5 last week. This is at 9:13 a.m.
Okay.
Wendy Adelson responds, because you needed to food shop. This is at 9:15. Mr. Markel replies, you weren't making them available until 5.
And at this point, he's already in the Premier parking lot around that time.
Would be correct, yes.
Okay.
Wendy,
But you get the gist that they're having this fight. Again, not a fight I would expect to have if she knew what was about to happen to him. Right? So they go through again the entire kind of day of the crime, connecting everybody who was called right after who. We're going to hear some of that. Wendy hit the roadblock near the house, near Dan Markel's house at between 12:35 and 12:45. Didn't go in, didn't investigate, didn't call him, didn't see if the kids were okay. Nothing like that. Again, pretty suspicious. And then we get the fact that it happens. Wendy ends up going to TPD and they tell her what happened and they tell her to call her mom and let her mom know. And again, we're focusing on Donna here, and let's hear how this exchange went between Donna and Wendy. I think that's where we're going here.
start a big case, which she acknowledges.
Okay, and did they discuss their plans for that night?
They did. 8:22 p.m. She texts, "You're still at work." Mr. Adelson, Charlie Adelson responds, "Just finishing. I'm not really feeling good. Maybe we can just hang at my house."
Okay, and he says he's not feeling good before she comes. And Donna Adelson of Dan Markel's shooting.
Okay,
In front of
all right, here we go. Now we're getting to the call. Rebecca said, "Got the night off, y'all. Hope everyone's in. Hope everyone's good." Peter, niece is taking the LSATs. Need to bend your ear. Oh, have to. Let's go, Cowboys. Yeah, practice. That's the most important thing for the LSAT. Absolutely get comfortable with it. And thank you for gifting 5 Lawyer You Know memberships. All right, here's the call now that I was talking about.
PPD investigators to inform Donna Adelson of Dan Markel's shooting.
Yes.
And was that call made by Wendy Adelson to Donna Adelson at 7:04 p.m.?
Yes, there were actually 2 close together there.
Okay, thank you. Which co-conspirator did Donna Adelson call after that?
So looking at Donna Adelson's locations and communication, there is a text message from Donna to Charlie, a chat that says, "Call us ASAP."
Okay.
So Wendy calls Donna. Donna texts Charlie. It's fitting in perfectly with the state's theme and how they're saying this conspiracy worked, right on cue.
And what about after that?
So what we see is looking at the combined location information from both Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson's cell phones, their locations. We see that they are consistent with leaving the South Beach area around or a little before 8 p.m. and beginning to travel north. We see locations here on this slide through about 8:29 p.m.
And now we start to get to, where was Donna Adelson? Was she driving to Tallahassee to be with Wendy, or was she driving to Charlie's first? Did she go by Charlie's? Did she go inside Charlie's? What did she do if she was inside Charlie's? How are they going to prove she's inside Charlie's? This is a pretty important moment. Some pieces of evidence the state presents, I think, are home runs. Other ones I think are incredibly weak. I would have just passed. I think they almost took the bait from the defense, which we'll talk about when we get there. But let's hear how they explain it.
And if we continue, we see events at 8:35 p.m. again in the North Miami area. And then we don't have any other usable events with location until 10:53, at which point they're in the north area down here.
Okay. Can you go back to just the slide right before this? Okay, so she receives a call from Wendy Adelson around 7:04 p.m. She's in touch with Charlie Adelson by she's attempting to get in contact with him by around 7:12. And within an hour, they are leaving South Beach and headed north in Miami. Correct. They being Donna Adelson.
And Harvey Adelson.
Adelson. Thank you. All right, so can we go to your next slide? You said that their last cell phone communication with location data was in North Miami at 8:35 p.m. and their next event with location after that was at 10:53 p.m. Are you familiar with Catherine McVano's statement that Charlie Adelson told her that his parents had just been at her home the night of Dan Markel's murder before she arrived at the home?
Her home or his home?
I'm sorry, his home, Charlie Adelson's home.
Yes.
Charlie Adelson's parents had just been at Charlie Adelson's home before McVano arrived that night.
Correct.
Okay.
That's pretty good evidence. And I think the jury's buying that entire setup at this point. So again, we're going to talk about what the really good evidence is. And then I think when they took it a step further than they needed to.
Is Charlie's home located between the location we see there for the cell site at 8:35 and the location for the cell site at 10:53?
Yes, we see here the location referenced by the flag of where Mr. Adelson's residence was at the time.
Is there evidence in the phone records that Donna Adelson went to Charlie Adelson's home on the night of Dan Markel's murder?
So there is another communication from Miss Donna Adelson at 8:59 p.m. stating outside your house.
Text messages outside your house right around the time she was in the vicinity. Pretty good evidence that she went to his house, right? Again, you have this if you're the state. Don't overtry the case. Don't fall into any traps. They're doing a really good job of kind of laying this down. Kathy said, good to be back. Surgery sucks, LOL. Glad I caught you tonight. Missed your commentary. Well, hey, we're here, Kathy. Happy to be here with you. Hopefully your recovery is speedy and as flawless as could possibly be. Derek, thank you so much for gifting one Lawyer You Know membership. And Melanie, thank you so much for gifting 20 Lawyer You Know memberships. Tons of new members coming from today's videos. That's awesome. Love to see it.
Inside your house, and she's sending that message to Charlie Adelson. Is that right?
Correct.
What can you tell us about her locations that night and how long she could have spent at Charlie's residence after sending this message?
Your Honor, Jack calls for speculation.
Overruled, he may answer based on his analysis of the records. However, Sergeant, you are not to speculate or offer any opinions beyond anything that you have not directly researched.
And I agree with that objection. It's speculation. He doesn't know that she was in the house. He has testified to all the reasons why he believes she's in the house, and that's fine to give that background, but like to go so as far as to say she is, they do a good job of asking the questions appropriately, like what indicates to you she might be in the house. That's different than speculation. So I do understand the objection, but I do agree he's able to testify to this stuff.
For these matters. You may answer the question.
Yes, sir. So the question asked of me is it possible for, given the cell site locations and times, is it possible there was a period of time where Donna and Harvey could have stopped at Charlie Adelson's residence? So to do this analysis, I looked at the events that we had with usable locations, and we see that there is this 6-minute phone call. This is the 8:35 location we saw in the previous slide, but we see this phone call actually begins on the cell site in the bottom of this slide, which should be 263.
So really good defense attorneys can pick apart and really make this stuff seem unreliable. This defense attorney tried to do a technical cross partially on him and how they're not necessarily perfect. I don't think it came off really clear about what he was trying to get to. And I think that this presentation, I think the jury was buying it. I'll just put it that way, based on how it was presented.
And it ends on the cell site at the top. So to conduct an analysis of potential time between points, we need to establish a point to start measuring from. So my estimation of that approximate handset's location between these two cell sites for this phone call is approximately the area of that 832 little call out here in the middle. So that is the point that I started, again, based on these two phone call or the beginning and ending cell sites, estimated that the handset was approximately in the area of that marker at 832. Same thing for the ending phone call or the next phone call that we had at 1053. We see the cell site that it begins on and the cell site that it ends on a little further north. And so that will be consistent again with the handset continuing to travel along the area of the turnpike. And
he takes this all the way up the entire trip. So Frank said, buying what? Just from my perspective and how these trials usually go with jurors, the jurors are buying that this is exactly where Donna Adelson was. They think this has her pinpointed perfectly, even though the technology was even worse back then, and that she went to Charlie Adelson's house because they can see it here on this. I think that McVano's testimony and the text saying outside your house are the real reasons why. but I think that they are absolutely buying this is the line of travel. They're picking up everything this expert's putting down, in my opinion. I don't think the defense poked good enough holes in Cross for them to think, can we really trust the data this expert's putting out? Peter, Wendy is arguing so she'll know for sure when he won't have the boys. I mean, I don't think her argument had anything to do with that. I don't know. Jordan said, Peter, off topic, but I got to serve on my first jury last week. Very interesting when it comes to reasonable doubt. Ooh, I'd love to hear more about that, Jordan. I love when you guys are jurors, because I think you guys make the best jurors, the people in this chat. MF said, Peter, Alan Jackson and Karen Reed will be on the Howie Carr radio show tomorrow at 2 p.m. I heard about this. I'm going to try to listen. If it's like 3 hours long, like the Proctor hearing, or multiple days, I'm not going to be able to really do much with it. If it's like Howie Carr's other interviews, then I'll be able to do a reaction to it, hopefully at some point tomorrow. Ms. Vicky said, here's a poll question. How many people would drive calmly away when they encounter crime scene tape near where their small children might be? Don't ask what's going on. Don't call anyone to find out the kids are okay. So I don't disagree with you, but that's far too little to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt of this crime. But I do agree with you that it doesn't make her look good. That's for sure. And I can understand why people think maybe she is in on it, things like that. It's far short of beyond a reasonable doubt, though. All right. So they continue on how there's an hour and 6 minute overlap, and it took an hour and 6 minutes longer than it should. Donna could have spent about 30 minutes at Charlie's house, and, they can tell that. And then he brings in, I did the test drive. Same time, same day, 11 years later or whatever, and it doesn't take that long to do that test drive. Here's my I literally wrote this note down, okay? Before we heard Cross, and I put it on Twitter as well. Before we heard Cross, I said, one piece of construction changes everything. One accident changes everything. I've driven to Miami. Sometimes it takes 3.5 hours. Sometimes it takes 6 hours. I've driven to Orlando. It takes 90 minutes or it takes 4 hours. Tallahassee's usually pretty good because I know when to leave. But it has taken me a long time too when it's just one accident, and it really changes everything. So to do that drive was completely worthless. You might as well MapQuest it. Do the people still MapQuest anymore? You might as well Waze it, whatever it is. Print that out and say, this is how long it should take. This is how long it took her. That's about as much value as you get as him doing this test drive. And you open yourself up to some cross-examination, which we're going to get to in here. And I know people are going to respond, well, he only did it because the defense said he never did it. The defense is always going to find something to nitpick. So let them say you never did the test drive. And what you say is, I didn't need to do the test drive. I can MapQuest it, and it tells me exactly how long it takes. Why would I take the time to make the whole drive? It gives you the same information. So I thought that was just totally unnecessary, and maybe, somewhere where they kind of stepped in the defense's trap a little bit. Was it a huge deal? No, but defense attorneys are going to nitpick and find things on Cross, and I think that was probably their best bet with this witness, which tells you how little they had to cross this witness on. Then he talks about wiretapping and why they do it, how they do it. They tapped Katie's phone and Charlie's phone. They get to the bump. The bump happens, and what does Donna do? After the bump, the first person and only person she calls about it, Charlie Adelson, about 20 minutes after it happens. Then they get into something interesting. The day Donna was arrested, she and Wendy were talking about Charlie's trial. Sorry, the day she was arrested, they took her phone. And there was conversations between Donna and Wendy about Charlie's trial. The defense objected. We took a long lunch break. They argued. The prosecution won. But then, and the prosecution said they had 30 to 45 minutes left with this witness. And then after the lunch break, the prosecutor's like, no more questions. I was like, are they going to bring him back later? Did they start to feel like maybe they were doing too much with this witness? Is he a little bit boring? So much data. Let's get to the other stuff. It was definitely a strategic decision by the prosecutor to change course because she clearly said they had 30 to 45 minutes left. What is the bump? The bump is when the undercover FBI agent came to Donna Adelson, pretended like he was in on it with her, not really with her, but extorting her for more money that she paid the hitmen, and basically trying to get her to go talk to Charlie and everybody else to tickle the wire, as they're going to explain later. That's the bump. Does Wendy's immunity deal keep her from being charged, prosecuted? Absolutely not. She even said it on the stand. We played it when she testified. We played her understanding of it, that what she says on the stand, including Cross, she's immune from any of that being used against her. But they can use Katie Mabanawa against her. They can use Charlie against her. They can use text messages, phone calls. They can use everything else against her. except what she said during trial. That's the type of immunity she has. Peter, last live was so fast, had to slow it down. Well, that's the great thing about you. I try to pack as much because I'm going to get comments like, oh, you didn't talk about this, or you didn't talk about this. I try to get as much in about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes as I can. And speeding up the clips helps me do that. But luckily, YouTube lets you slow it down if you want to slow it down on your end. Janet KT, 1 year of membership. This is the best channel in community. Thanks, Peter and chat. You know, Janet, because of people like you. So I really appreciate that. I think Wendy argued about the boys to stay in character. If she were too nice, it could raise red flags. She didn't have to say anything. I mean, I get it. Everybody's going to have, a point, counterpoint, and I get it. I'm just thinking realistically, I don't think, based on everything else she did, I don't think that's something she would have done. You're not giving Wendy enough credit for being sneaky. She's arguing with him about having the kids to support her ignorance and innocence later. Okay. I mean, if she's a pretty great criminal. She's a much, much better criminal than Donna and Charlie, if this is true and this is the case. Thank you, Derek, for the super sticker here. And thank you, Nurse of Interest, Jackie, for gifting 5 more Lawyer memberships. Kaylin said this trial is not disappointed. I do think it's interesting, the differences and the additional things that we're getting out of this trial. Okay, then we get to cross. Again, he tries to do a technical cross on some of the cell sites and partially functioning and how they're not as reliable as you make them seem. I don't think it was as effective as I've seen some other crosses of it. I'm not saying I would be great at this either. This is probably not a witness that I would take and cross-examine. I would probably have somebody that really digs into this stuff and can get into the weeds on it to try to break down how unreliable it can be. He hammers, one of the text messages, how this expert used to the minute, not the second. He had to the second, chose to use the minute, chose not to be precise. That can be really important. That can be really important if he made mistakes. And if his not being precise mattered and was material, to just say you weren't precise on this one text, I don't know. I don't know how effective that is personally. Okay, and then we're going to get to him picking apart the traffic patterns, kind of what I was talking about earlier and some of what I was thinking when this happened that I'm sure some of you guys don't agree with. But let's listen to me. This was the best part of the cross. How effective was it? You guys tell me. Because it is important if, Donna didn't go to Charlie's and wasn't at Charlie's house and didn't give him the money and wasn't part of the conspiracy beforehand, I think that could be better.
Your July 10th, 2025 deposition, you had not done the drive yourself, had you?
That's correct.
Did you do any research to determine what construction had taken place at I-95 between July 18th of 2014 and July 18th of 2025?
I-95 where?
Where you drove.
Not the, I know that there was a number of changes to I-95 at the area where it separates from the turnpike, the Florida Turnpike. I did specifically look at the turnpike in relation to Mr. Adelson's residence to make sure that there had been no changes in the roadway there.
Okay, so the turnpike, it's your testimony that in the last 11 years, the turnpike in that area has not been widened?
I don't recall it.
He's wrong. He's wrong about so many things. And the point is, you don't want to open yourself up to all these questions. You just don't. You didn't need to do the drive. You didn't even need to give him the opportunity to do this part of the cross, but I'm just going to kind of let it play. I've already said my part. It just was totally unnecessary, unforced error by the state. You have it locked in with the text. You have it locked in with Katie McVanois. You didn't need him to make the drive. And this is like a lawyer. So this is part of this channel, okay, is like, what do lawyers think? What do they do? Decisions we make. And I've probably made decisions exactly like this, where after the fact, I was like, I didn't need to do that. That was too much. It opened us up for, them to come and hit us with a jab. Didn't need it. And that's all I'm talking about. It's just kind of lawyer strategy on how you use witnesses. And clearly after his depo, they were like, oh no, he hasn't made the drive. Let's have him go try to correct that now 11 years later and make the drive. You didn't do it. It is what it is. I don't think it was material.
It's been widened. The off-ramp is in the same location. The aerial photography is exactly the same for that exchange. And again, the drive was done because there was a question raised somewhere along the way about the ability to get off the turnpike and to Mr. Adelson's residence. And so just to clarify that, and that more research was done. And so again, looking at that, there's been a number of changes around that area. Water drainage has been filled in, buildings have been built, all kinds of things have happened, but the roadway itself.
He's trying to explain himself. It's like, brother, you're wrong. Like, you're wrong. today to tomorrow, this Friday to next Friday, we in this type of a drive. This is not a 5-minute. This is not a drive from the 34 Fairview to John O'Keefe's house. This is not that kind of drive where there's like a small variance because it's 10 minutes away or whatever. We're talking hours and hours on highways that everybody knows. That's like saying I got from my, for people that live in New York City, I don't actually even know, but I got from my office in New York City to my house in the suburbs in 20 minutes. It's like, clearly that's not going to be the same every single day, right?
Remains the same.
So again, my question is, has the road been widened? Has there been construction?
There may have been construction and replacement. And I can say with certainty, and I can look at it again, but with certainty, the routes, the off-ramps, the exchanges are in the same position that they are. If the lanes are a little wider, there was no significant change in anything about getting off the turnpike and getting over to Mr. Adelson's road.
Sergeant Corbitt, I don't know if I'm asking a poor question or you're misunderstanding. Has there been construction on the turnpike in the last 11 years?
I'm sure there has, yes.
Did you do anything to determine if that had happened?
Yes.
Okay. And yet you're still giving us a qualified answer.
You're asking about widening. I don't recall seeing, and again, the area that I looked at was the turnpike, the off-ramp of the turnpike, the exchange that goes to the east and then connects with Mr. Adelson's road. There were no changes to that. If the turnpike was widened somewhere, that may be possible. I did not look for that. Again, I'm looking for the path of travel had not changed.
So you looked for records that would be consistent with the state's theory to establish that the route hadn't been altered in any way.
The question raised was, can you get off the turnpike and get to Charlie Adelson's residence? And the answer is yes.
Now, what were the traffic conditions on July 18th of 2014?
I do not know.
Did you do anything to try to find that out?
I did.
And what did you do?
I tried to research through Department of Transportation if they had traffic and crash data going back that far, and I did not find any.
Is that because the retention period had been exceeded?
Most likely, yes.
What is it?
That's how long it took for you to do this. We don't need to keep listening to this. Carrie, what are your thoughts on how long it's taking the defense to prepare before they cross a witness? Do you think the jury thinks they're unprepared? So here's what I'll say. To me, it's not that big of a deal. It hasn't, I'm watching this trial on 2.5 times speed. And it's riveting, except for when the recordings are playing. I got to slow that down, but it is possible. And I have, when I've interviewed and talked to jurors after trials, they have noticed, which side's ready, which side's not, which side jumps up and almost runs to the podium excited to cross-examine. That would be me. And which side is not. They've noticed that. The phone calls after the bump show the hierarchy and who called who, and they never skipped anyone. Cody, I agree. I thought that was really important, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. Think them deciding not to ask any further questions was to protect from appeal, or they thought they laid sufficient foundation and circle back. I agree. Why push it on something you don't really need, right? And I think they need to make, those are the kinds of decisions they need to make, because I think they've got a lot of damning evidence and more to come, so you don't need to push where it's not necessary. Yeah, she's a much better criminal. Her mom and brother are standing trial / convicted. She's living her best life, and no one has given her up. AJ and Kara will be on from 2 to 3. Okay, we'll see. Hour is like right on that. Hopefully I'll be able to catch it tomorrow while I'm doing this trial and everything else. What do you think of the defense's cross? I feel like Alan Jackson ruined all other defense lawyers for me, LOL. Listen, I think parts of their cross have been very good. I think parts are okay and parts are bad. This is a harder case than Karen Reed's case. I'll just tell you that. Okay. If you want to have a defense attorney and show off and really show what you can do, Karen Reed's case gives you that opportunity. This one gives you less of an opportunity. I think there's more meat on the bone, but again, we got to compare apples to apples here. Okay, let's jump to the redirect, because I do think that the prosecutor did a pretty good job kind of coming back and challenging some of what he did on cross. And they've done short, pointed redirects, which I've appreciated. And I think that works better usually.
I believe the outside your house text message is indicative of her being outside his house.
Okay, that's what Donna Adelson.
Yeah.
Get the text messages placed. Donna Adelson at Charlie Adelson's house.
I believe the outside your house text message is indicative of her being outside his house.
Okay.
It's why you didn't need him to make the drive.
And that's what Donna Adelson tells us in that text message, right?
I believe so, yes.
And then she has an hour and 6 minutes, was it, of unaccounted for time on the stretch of the drive. That's on the same stretch of the drive where Charlie Adelson's house is, right?
Correct.
You got lots of, and did you do this drive in 2025 because the defense questioned the fact that you hadn't done it, didn't know if you could do it in the 2025 depot?
There was a question as to who raised it. I'm not certain.
Okay, thank you.
And again, maybe the jury will think, oh, those scummy defense attorneys, why would they do this? So I get that, maybe that, but from my perspective, I was like, it almost sounds like they baited you to do it. 2.5, do you get a kick out of the chipmunks in court? Honestly, I don't even notice it. It almost sounds like normal speed to me. I don't know. Derek, have to ask, as a Canadian, what the heck is going on in Florida? There could be a lot of answers to that question, brother. And I stand by my comment that the prosecutors are using this like a grand jury. Wendy is going down, and Donna and Harvey is 100% guilty. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Sabertooth, thank you for gifting 5 Lawyer You Know memberships.
You got lots of questions about construction on the turnpike. Defense asked if their client could have gotten stopped for that extra hour that's unaccounted for in construction. Did Donna Adelson tell us in that text message where she stopped on the drive? Did she say she was outside of Charlie Adelson's house?
Agreed.
Okay, and then Charlie Adelson gave her his estimated time of arrival at the house for 10 minutes from then. Is that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
If the Adelsons were just driving really slow on that first part of the drive where they have over an hour of unaccounted for time, would they then have had to speed up to normal cruising speed for the second part of the drive where they made it from the 1053 location to Orlando with a consistent amount of time as the estimated time that we see on Esri?
Yes. The second part of that, the second half, we'll call it, of the trip was done at close to the estimated time. So the speed and travel were close to what would be expected. The first half of that trip, it was not.
Okay. And when you did the drive and went from the 832 or 834 location?
Yes, one of those.
One of
Before the end of the 835 call.
Okay. 834 location. When you did that drive, were you able to get on the same day of the week, the same time of Friday night, from that point to Charlie Adelson's house in the estimated amount of time?
I was, yes.
Okay. And same with the second part of the drive from Charlie Adelson's house to the 1053 location. Was that consistent with?
So she's just breaking down like where the consistencies were versus inconsistencies. Again, we've kind of gone through this enough. Next witness, finally we get to the bump. It's the undercover agent. They had to set up the courtroom so the cameras didn't pick it up. He was funny. He cracked a joke like I wasn't too mean, but I'm not good looking. Maybe I did scare her. Everybody laughed. So from my perspective, that made me feel like everybody in the courtroom loved him. Usually that's what happens with undercover FBI agents. Crossing them can be very difficult, because they're seen as heroes, which a lot of them are, but defense lawyers still have to cross-examine them. The only phone calls, this was important. This was one of the important things because he obviously explained the bump, which we're going to hear more about with the undercover recordings. But he said he had this phone that he basically created this number just for this. He called the Adelson Institute, and the only calls that ever came to that phone were from, guess who? Charlie and Donna. That's incredibly important. Incredibly important. Charlie and Donna. On cross, she's like, you weren't dressed all nice, were you? Trying to make it like he was scary. Like I said, he makes the joke. You asked for $5,000. She didn't pay it. She goes through the entire kind of timeline of what he did after the bump. They read the note and it sounds really nasty. She's like, that note's not very nice. It seems like maybe that struck a chord with John O'Rourke, who made that comment. Maybe some of the jurors are like, this was mean to do to an older lady. Maybe she was freaking out. Maybe she called her son for help. Maybe she was in shock because this was harassment. Maybe it got there, and maybe that was based off the defense attorney's cross, because that's kind of what she was focusing on. But the undercover agent was like, that's usually how fake blackmail works. I was trying to act like a criminal. And she tries to explain how Donna acted like an innocent person after that. It's going to be up for the jury to decide. Then a couple witnesses, just to give the background about, where they sat, what the wiretap is, what equipment they used, how they picked up conversations with Charlie and Katie and Donna and Charlie, and, which ones worked, which ones didn't. The guy that thought he was made at the sushi bar, that one's always funny, next to Charlie and Harvey. They put that up there, and then, they're like, oh, we think we were made based on what they did next. And then we get to Patrick Sanford, who is going to be on the stand for most of the day tomorrow and was the last witness today. Before we get to him, let me answer a couple questions. Derek said, the important communications are after Wendy and Charlie talk. Then she agrees with Dan. Those poor kids. Yes, there were multiple things where it was like, yeah, Something happens with Charlie and Wendy, and then Wendy does something. I agree. Those are good, but we don't have all the content of all of those conversations like we do with some of these undercover recordings. So that's why there is so much more evidence here against these Adelsons than Wendy. There's no doubt who benefited most. I think Jackie asks odd questions sometimes, like the one to the bumper about his pronunciations. I agree. I don't know. And he's like, I speak fluent Spanish, right? It's like, yeah, if you're in South Florida undercover FBI agent, you probably should speak Spanish. But I don't know. It's just, there's some weird stuff. Peter, as a defense attorney, how do you feel about the way the general audience watches these popular trials? How close to a jury are the comments you see? There's a spectrum, right? There's people going to be on far ends, but you can get anybody on a jury. From my perspective, I think the chat overwhelmingly does have a similar voice and their finger on the pulse of your average juror. And I think I learn a lot, and it's helped me try cases. It's helped me pick juries in the jury selection process, knowing what you guys think and how you ask. I love it. I want people to get more familiar with the courtroom and the justice system, understanding how the rules work, understanding the job of everybody in there. The prosecutor has a different job than the defense attorney, different job than the bailiff and the judge. I love it personally. I'm a big fan of it. I'm glad people are doing it. How long does Wendy's immunity last for? Can she be arrested after the trial? She can be arrested today. The immunity, though, lasts forever. They can never use against her what she testified to during this trial. Standing objection to leading, Your Honor. Tommy, honestly, they could. I mean, because they lead a lot. And the judge is a little loose with that, with these prosecutors. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the super sticker. Okay, now we are going to get to Sanford, and we're going to talk about some of these recordings. He did talk about how Luis Rivera told him about, shooting the floorboard of the car, and how they could go back and corroborate and confirm what he said was true, which, again, adds credibility. What they did through this witness that I thought was smart was, when you have the text message, Catherine Benoit said X, Y, and Z, and then we have a text that matches up with that. Luis Rivera said X, Y, and Z. We have this evidence that lines up. You want to corroborate the people that come in orange jumpsuits. So it's like, yeah, maybe they're getting a benefit. Maybe they're a jailhouse snitch, whatever it may be. But we want to add credibility to them with these other evidence. They did a good job with that, talking about the hole in the car. There's a recording of Donna talking to Charlie, trying to get Wendy to keep dating this Dave guy. And I think the point of that was to show how controlling they were. They meddled in her life without her knowing. And they tried to, control her relationships. There was a disgusting recording that I was going to play, but I just don't have time to play it because I want to play some of the other ones where Charlie's like, Donna's got to figure it out. Like, nobody wants a 37-year-old with two kids that aren't theirs. You're going to have a 6-year-old come fart in your face. I played it during Charlie's trial because, again, I think it makes Charlie look just disgusting and horrible. He's like, you think you give me a Victoria's Secret model that's 36 years old or whatever, and then I'm like, I can get one that's 25. Like, single, doctors, they don't want 37-year-olds with baggage, and it's just, oof. And listen, you play that. You guys, what was your reaction to that call? What was your reaction to that call? Because that call didn't prove anything really with the conspiracy. They meddle, I get it. But to me, that call is the generally bad guy rule. Let's hate the Adelsons. Let's hate Charlie in connection. Let's hate Donna. That's what I think that was played for personally, and I think it probably worked. Let me see what else. They talk about how frustrating Wendy's decisions are on all of them. All right, they get to the bump. They explain what tickling the wire is, and now we're going to watch this part of the bump. So everybody that's wondering what a bump is, you get to hear it today. And while we're watching this bump, we're about to hit the 1 hour mark. So everybody hit the like button if you haven't already. Like this video, please. And make sure you are subscribed to our page. We're going to be bringing you recaps every single night on this case. Yeah, I'm reading the chat. Everybody said the same thing. Yeah, it was just gross. Disgusting. Makes you look bad. Yeah, I don't think it proved much, but it does make him look bad. Devastation for the kids, could lose everyone close to them for most of their lives. Unfortunately, they were kept away from their in-laws in Canada. Unfortunately. Sorry, I thought you said fortunately. Yeah, that'll really break you if you think about it for too long. And again, if you think about what the Markel family has gone through, it's absolutely brutal. Thank you, Paul, for gifting a Lawyer membership. Art and Grace. Do you think Donna's Art and Grace Deb is all about the lawyer strategy here. Do you think Donna's horrible outfits are fooling anyone? They sure aren't fooling us. I'm honestly surprised she's allowing them. So you know what I've noticed is the state has taken the opportunity to put a lot of other kinds of pictures and videos of Donna in where she looks very different than she does in the courtroom today. And I don't think that's by accident. All right, let's take a listen here to the bump. And again, forgive me, I'm doing the best I can. The audio is not going to be perfect on some of these recordings. There's going to be some verbiage on the screen. Charlie usually comes out pretty loud and clear, but if I need to repeat anything, I will. We'll get the important context and talk about what comes out and why it's important and how the lawyers are going to use it. But first, the bump.
Black shorts. What is it? Yeah. Okay, I'll get back. Yeah, listen, I just wanted to know that we know that your family is taking care of Katie and her friend.
We know that your family is taking care of Katie. I'll kind of tell you what the undercover agent said.
For quite some time after your problem on North End resolved. And I wanted to know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through, the way you're taking care of Katie. And
My brother is in jail. We want to make sure you take care of him the way you're taking care of Katie.
well, this will explain it.
I don't know what you're talking about. He hands her an envelope, says this will explain it.
Thank you.
Pause it, please.
She does.
Okay, we see her take the paper from the undercover and fold it and put it into her purse. Does she ever take it out and look at it before she gets back into her building?
Not that we ever saw, no.
And does she make any phone calls once she goes back into her building?
When she goes back into her building, she does.
And who is the first person that the defendant calls after the bump?
Charlie Adelson.
Okay, is that call A?
It is.
Surprise, surprise.
Okay, publish call A, please.
Now she's calling Charlie about 20 minutes later, which is what a prior witness confirmed. Nikki said, I always want to say Nietzsche. I don't know why. Calls showed Charlie's dumb. Donna's the mastermind. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't necessarily get that. But.
Hey, hon.
Other in the very near future, I need to move to people.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did someone write a letter to you or something?
I've got some.
All right. So maybe we just read it. I'll let you listen to it, but I've got some paperwork hand delivered to me. You're being sued. No, that's what I thought it was, but I'm going to need to talk to you.
Give it a look. Hand delivered to you?
You're being sued?
No, that's what I thought about, but I'm doing this job to you.
Okay.
Okay, so, I'm not going you have to figure out something. You can tell us that we were able to go on.
Well, I'm in Mitch Klein's office on Park Boulevard.
Okay.
So I'm right now in Silent Village, and I'll be at his office in the afternoon.
Okay. So the boys who finished their, piano lesson around 4, and they took them up at the traffic, and they take a ride with them up there.
Does Dad know about this?
The dad didn't work today, fortunately.
Does Nad know about this? No, Dad's at work today. What? Like the IRS? You know, those IRS people, they kind of bother you sometimes. I got you. So I will talk to you. I'll give you the heads up if I'm going to drive up that way. Again, this is where some code is coming in. And these are the types of things. You get this bump. You call your son, Charlie, who I think at this point the jury knows he's sunk. He's already been convicted. You call Charlie to talk about it. You're talking in code. This is where it gets damning for Donna Adelson. This is where they're connecting her. This is where, I think like Alan said, maybe you're pushing them more likely than not, and they're on their way to beyond a reasonable doubt at some point, potentially.
What's IRS?
you know, because I know those people that kind of bother me sometimes, but, you know, unfortunately not now.
I think it might be easier because the sound's so bad if I just kind of read it. Does Wendy know that? Does it involve Wendy? No, 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 no. What is it? Yeah. Does it involve me or other people? Well, probably both of us. What's that? Probably the two of us. So you probably have a general idea of what I'm talking about. Again, if I'm Wendy, this is Exhibit A in my defense during my trial if I ever get charged. That is just the two of us. All right. So let's just find some time to talk to each other and take the boys for a ride. Okay. You're going to take the boys up there? Well, Wendy doesn't come home and doesn't get here until 7, and that's when Dad gets here. So it's urgent to talk to me today or tomorrow. It's important. I'm just concerned that I would have to get up there and get back in time for Wendy to get them. Let's go to some more highlights. Again, this is what the defense was arguing about. They're playing it, they're highlighting it, the jury can read it, and then they're asking follow-up questions. And some of the follow-up questions were things like, what was her demeanor like? She was calm. She was not in fear. The paper she was given was about Dan Markel. And when asked what it's about, she tells Charlie the two of us. Those are kind of the questions that came up afterwards, building in context. Oh no, it's not anonymous. It's not anonymous. I just don't want to discuss it over the phone. Does this mean she's guilty? No. Generally, do jurors look at this and say, that sounds like a guilty person? Yes. I wouldn't bother you. Trust me. So Charlie's, maybe a little slow picking this up. Whatever it is, I'll take a look at the paperwork, Charlie Adelson says, and that's the end of that call. And we're going to jump to another call a couple minutes later. Listen, people can always write. People can always say anything they want. It doesn't. If someone says you're a bad dentist, it doesn't mean you're a bad dentist. No, of course not. But anyway, I'll come down. Okay, the highlights. I'll make you take me out to dinner. So make sure you bring cash with you. That's from Donna Adelson. Charlie says, do I need to bring cash? Donna says, yeah. If you take me out to dinner, I want to have, really, that's probably a good idea, right? What do you think they're talking about? Can I ask you, is someone blackmailing you? Donna says that's always a good possibility. Charlie says, do you think someone is trying to blackmail you? Donna says, maybe, could be. I don't know. Charlie says, no, that's crazy. She says, yeah. I don't know what anyone would blackmail you for, but is there any way I could see you? You can't come up here at all? It's going to be difficult again because of schedule. Is this anything government related? Or is this like a whack job writing a letter to you? Like who, Donna says? Is it like a whack job writing a letter to you, or is this government related? No, I don't know if it's government related. What do you think they mean by government related? So it's not government or military. Do you know who sent it to you? Donna says, I have a pretty good idea, but we'll talk we'll talk later. Either I'd like to try to get to see you today. So someone showed up. It was like a process server. Donna said, that's what I thought was happening. It wasn't. Charlie said, no. Where did they come to you at? When I walked outside the building, right as I got past both driveways at the Icon. Yeah. So anyways, I can make the attempt to go up there. I'm just concerned about getting back here in time and having, Wendy say, where were you? I don't think it's a good idea for the boys to say, we went up to Uncle Charlie. Maybe they're protecting Wendy here, maybe not. I think there's a lot of inferences that can be drawn. Charlie says, all right, let me ask you this. Do you want to take the picture of the letter and send it to me? Donna, no, I really don't want to do that. Charlie hasn't figured out. It's like they're speaking in code, but he doesn't realize that they can get all of his text messages and things like that. Charlie says, how long was the letter? Donna said, well, it was just a copy of an article, but it's written on the letter that it was written on the copy of that letter. Charlie said, is the person threatening you? Donna said, I don't think we should talk. Donna definitely seems like she gets it more than Charlie. All right. Listen, it's the kind of thing, if there's a threat, you go to the police. Donna said, yeah. Charlie said, but anyway, and Donna said, at this time, I don't think that's a good idea. Charlie said, well, I don't mean if people threaten you, you've got to go to the police. Charlie said, all right, if it's something serious, I'm going to recommend going to the police. Donna said, oh, no, I know. That's what I'm tempted to do. And we'll hear some of the follow-up right after.
Say that this is a particular, on this call, we hear the defendant say that this is a particularly bad Yelp review. Is this an example of code talk?
Yes.
This doesn't have anything to do with the Yelp review, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so already in call 2, we've got code words being used.
That's correct.
And she indicates that Charlie should bring cash, and if he doesn't have it, she'll bring it, right?
She does.
Does she indicate she knows who sent her the letter?
She does in a way. She knows who the person was by seeing them.
She says, I have a pretty good idea who sent it.
Right.
He asked
This was some of what the defense was not happy with, that prosecutor was able to do that. Ms. Vicky, what innocent person wouldn't just say what it was about over the phone? I can think of a million reasons why there could be different aspects to this. I don't think it would sound like the conversation Donna had with Charlie necessarily, but this doesn't make you guilty all on its own, but it is circumstantial evidence for sure. Coffee addiction. I know your husband won't be alive, so you would insist on picking them up so they wouldn't be waiting at a dad who's not coming? But you don't need to tell him that. You don't need to argue with him. We can go in circles all day about that argument. I love this judge. He runs a smooth courtroom and a tight ship, right? They start on time, end on time. It's good. The IRS doesn't meet you on the street. That's true. And they also don't sound like this guy on the phone when they call you if it is a prank IRS call. Pity Mom, thanks for gifting a membership. And Paris, appreciate you guys. All right. One last call I wanted to, so Charlie was told his ex-girlfriend is involved, and the next person he calls is Katie McManaman. So again, the train car analogy continues. They continue to connect, talking one right after the other. So after Donna talks to Charlie, Charlie talks to Katie. Let's hear that conversation.
Hey, what's going on? No, like, do you someplace you can talk about?
So what?
Are you any place that you can talk about?
You're talking now.
What's that?
Just talk right now. Let's talk.
Okay, you got some person that's not loud when I'm talking to you?
I can't. It's like loud, so I can't get out.
Okay, I'm trying to walk outside and talk to you. Now, I'm trying to get outside. Actually, you're not. Alright, somebody. Right on there. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear.
Okay, I just want you to listen to me. I'll be able to talk to you in person like tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I don't know what's going on, but my mom walked the kids. I only heard part of the story, and I'm going to go down there and talk to her tomorrow to find out what's going on.
Okay.
Because she didn't want to elaborate, but she said that someone approached her on the street, called her by name, handed her an envelope with something in it.
Yeah.
And somebody was, she really wouldn't go into detail, but I have no idea what this is in reference to. But something regarding her son, something regarding his ex-girlfriend, and the person asking my mom for some money.
What?
Yeah. So
She's like, what?
I said, well, yeah. I'm like, first what you're saying, I thought it was like something involving IRS or the payment company or something like that. So I don't even know what the fuck it's about at all.
So somebody like bumped into your mom like that?
Well, they came up to her on the street after she got.
Interesting use of verbiage there, right? And the big point the state's making is he knew exactly which ex-girlfriend they were talking about, right? She said Katie, mom said ex-girlfriend. This is how it gets there.
Kids off at school. I get to school. I don't even know, but they must know her routine. They must know who she is.
Yeah.
They walked up to her. They called her by name. Handed her an envelope. She said they spoke to her for a few minutes. And then she said they were making reference to my ex-girlfriend. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
And then they explained that they used to be paid money.
For what?
I guess I don't even want to talk to you on the phone. But
like, did she see a person? Was she like, you should have like,
oh yeah, that's what I said. There's no one's gonna try to blackmail you or something.
Exactly, right? You're like that.
I said, yeah, she's like, I don't even know what I don't want to talk about it. I go, well, take a picture and send it where it is. Like, I just want to see the person. So I'm gonna go there. I can't even fucking go there today because I gotta work for 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So she's like, just.
So did you just copy your mom?
I don't fucking know. I don't know what's going on with my mom's mom. You didn't do anything with my mom. Yeah.
What is going on?
Okay. Just checking. Just checking. I don't know.
No, but you don't for your mom, like, what the hell?
Well, I don't
Like, a person, like, you go up to your mom, like, hello.
Yeah, and my mom said it involved your ex-girlfriend. So I don't even think she said who. I'm just like, you're my last girlfriend, so that's why I called me.
And the state has already proven through June, who is definitely not trying to hurt Charlie, that is not true. Katie Mabana was not his last ex-girlfriend.
They wouldn't want from her.
I have no idea. So anyway, I'm gonna find out. Well, they wanted money.
I know, exactly. Did she tell you? Like, what you
No, she was just kind of like a little rattled and with the kids, and it was like, listen, I should have had the day off tomorrow, but she's like, come down and talk to me. So I'm going down tomorrow, talk to her, and then I don't remember if they had anything to do with it. If they're mentioning you or any reference to you, I'll keep you posted.
What have you mean? Yeah, like
I
a
know.
girlfriend.
Well, we'll talk. It could be anything, so I just assumed that.
Exactly.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. So I may want to see you tomorrow if it does that. If it doesn't, then I feel like a fucking idiot for even calling, wasting your time.
Yeah, but you're right, your mom. Like, I don't know, I thought that would be when I come home, right? It would be like,
I know. I did one with the guy wearing math glasses. I was like, no, I can take first out one after the second. They came over to me. They spoke to me very politely. They had, it was a white male in the 30s. No hat, no glasses. Just a white male in the 30s. Came up there and she was the dresser. So, but anyway, either here or there, I feel like an idiot if it's some other thing. But anyway,
yeah, did you have any fight with him over there or something?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I should be calling everybody today.
No, yeah, you should try to find out.
I thought when I spoke to my mom, she said it was they mentioned your name in it. That's why I was calling you, but I'm going to feel like an idiot if they did. So, but anyway, are you working tomorrow? What's the story?
All right, so that's basically the end. I wanted to play some of what she asks him for the context afterwards. Peter, how do I contact you / John or Kelsey? LawyerYouKnow@gmail.com. LawyerYouKnow@gmail.com. Trina, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Some people are asking how you get the gifted memberships. You have to like turn on something. Somebody usually likes to explain it in the chat better than I can.
Quote, something regarding her son and his ex-girlfriend. Did the Undercover say anything about Charlie Adelson or Donna's son?
No.
Did the Undercover reference Charlie Adelson at all?
No, he did not.
When Donna Adelson relayed to Charlie what the Undercover did she say they mentioned you?
No.
But he deduces that he misremembers that it was just about him.
That's what appears correct.
Did he proceed after this call to call any of his other ex-girlfriends?
No, he did not.
Did he speak to anyone else about this other than the family members that we're going to hear in Catherine McMahon?
No, he didn't.
Right. There was discussion of an in-person meeting between the defendant and her son, Charlie Adelson. Did that take place?
It did.
When did that take place?
The following day at about, I think it was around 1 o'clock.
Is this April 20th?
So they do meet. He goes and kind of sits near them, but you can't really hear what they're saying because of the location that they pick. And basically he's like, they were kind of whispering, and Charlie's usually a big, loud talker. He wasn't big and loud there, basically acting like criminals is what he's trying to say. To me, this is kind of a stretch again. Like they can say that about a lot of people, but this is basically where the evidence ends today. So what did the state prove? What did the state prove towards Donna's involvement in this conspiracy? If the jury believes the evidence, and if we're looking at it in the light most favorable to the state, they proved Donna was not surprised when Wendy called her, basically, immediately calls Charlie, goes to Charlie's house, stops there for 30 minutes to an hour on the way up to Wendy. Then when the bump happened, well, and also obviously, the money, she was just there before McBanawa got there. She gave Charlie the money so that, it was wet because his mom washed it. So Charlie could take the money Donna gave, give it to Katie. So Katie could give it to Sigfredo. So Sigfredo could give it to Luis. Again, train cars. They proved how all the communications went. They proved Donna meddles in Wendy's, love life with Charlie. They do things whether or not Wendy asks for it or not. The FBI agent does the bump with Donna. She immediately knows what he's talking about, says it involves me and you, Charlie. And it's a, article of Dan Markel's death. And she definitely knows what's going on at that point. They don't call the cops. So they're definitely starting to prove here some criminal actions by Donna Adelson, putting her in the time and place with the opportunity and the motive to commit a crime like this. Is that going to be enough? There will be more. It's not over yet, but that's really what they're starting to build a pretty good foundation at this point. Nurse Betsy said, so look forward to your updates. Thank you for making it all make sense. I don't know about making it all make sense, Nurse Betsy, but I do my best. I do my best. Yeah, Donna will bring washed hundreds that are stapled. That's her part. It's like a family dinner. I'm going to bring the salad. I'm going to bring the turkey. It's like I'm going to bring the washed $100 bills stapled into thousands. Anita, thank you for gifting 5 Lawyer You Know memberships. That's all the testimony that we're going to break down today. And also, I try to do it in about an hour and 15 minutes. So it's like as bite-sized as it gets in our realm, right? I mean, you can watch 10 hours of trial a day. You can watch everybody stream it live. It's awesome. Try to make it more consumable for people that aren't able to watch all day, and still fun and enjoyable, and answer questions for people that did watch it all day, to pull some of the highlights and answer their questions when they have them. John O'Rourke, thank you so much for gifting 10 Lawyer You Know memberships. This has got to be the most Lawyer You Know memberships ever gifted on a Adelson video. So that's amazing. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Thanks for showing up even for the later recap. My schedule is just all over the place. So it's either going to be around 5:30, 5:45 or 8:30, 8:45 each night, depending on when I can, as long as this trial goes. And I'm also not sure if I'm going to do a Friday night live or just kick it to Saturday morning. I kind of enjoy the Saturday morning lives. You guys tell me what you enjoy more. But hit that like button for me if you have not already. I really appreciate it. Until next time, I am out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast, featuring new episodes every week. And if you have a case that you want to personally talk to us about in your life, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, truck accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.